Okay, so this is a pure fishing video. I do have catch and cook videos lined up for the next few weeks. Um, Over the winter, January, February, when I'm completely done with fishing, we'll probably do some pure cooking videos. Maybe meat, not just seafood. In any case, our main target today is blackfish, tautog. But as usual, this time of year, there's usually birds working and some schoolie bass underneath them. They're keyed in on pretty small bait, so I'm using like a 4-inch Kayak. Also 4 or 5-inch jerk shads. They like to work pretty quick, and I did try working underneath the school to see if there's any larger bass, but just top to bottom, small schoolies. The forecast for this day was the worst forecast I've ever experienced. They were calling for 3 to 5 miles per hour wind. It ended up building to well over 15. And you'll see later in the video it was touch and go. Alright, so to the right of me there's a little cove, and throughout the day I'm basically hiding in there, poking my head out to catch 1 or 2 fish,
Lee, how deep were you when you were out here?
dragging the fish back into the protected area.
How deep, I'm sorry? 18. Thank you.
And I'm fishing with my good friends Lee and Zoran. Here I'm just pitching the crab out and pointing my bow into these waves. And I do apologize, but I am grunting and muttering to myself a lot in this video. Usually happens with togging because they're such frustrating bait stealers, but today it's just mainly it's exhausting trying to fight the conditions and land these fish. Yeah, so I'm basically hooked up and finding a calm period in between the swells to drag the fish back, and then unhooking, releasing, or keeping them. In here, as you can see, is completely different conditions. So here's my first fish of the day. Yeah, it's about a 20-inch female. This is a little larger than I like to keep, so this one's going back. I really do wish New York, and any state really, should deploy a slot limit on blackfish. Here you get a good look at the jig. That's a 5/8 ounce tall candy jig. And I believe he put up 1/2 and 5/8 ounce on his website, and I'll leave a link below. So here I poke my head out again, Lee's in front of me, and this video really doesn't do it justice. I mean, these are pretty big swells. And since I flipped my kayak for the first time last year, I've been pretty shy of these conditions. And here once again, I'm dragging the fish back. You know, so these fish are going for a ride. The rod I'm using, which I've really, it's become my favorite togging rod, is the 7'2" heavy action Hyuga. It's made by Megabass. I'll leave links to all the stuff I'm using down below. This was my plugging rod for bluefish and stripers, but it really stood up to some pretty big fish. This is about a 17-inch female, so I'm keeping her. And one thing about bleeding these fish, I found the best way is to cut straight down until your knife tip touches bone. So you want to basically scrape their backbone, and then you get a good quick bleed out. They're usually bled out and dead within 5 minutes. Alright, so there you see my little crab bucket contraption. It's velcroed to my wooden sonar board with a lid, so I'm not losing any more crabs now. And I put the hook through between leg sockets and out the other side. And these are Asian crabs. So this fish slacked me up. And it was a very subtle bite for a fish this size. The reel is an Abu Revo inshore. I upgraded the drags to Carbon Tex, and I'm glad I did that. Any reel can put out pretty smooth drag pressure if it's on a light setting, but this is pretty much a lockdown drag. And this fish is too big for me to drag in. Yeah, this is my biggest tog of the season so far. And here I'm gonna pedal back into my cove. And I crushed the barbs on these hooks. So far I haven't lost a fish. There's my friend Lee, took a few photos for me. Yeah, so that fish was a little under 23 inches. Smaller than the female I caught last year, but definitely my best fish this season. And yeah, I couldn't deal with that fish immediately, just because I have to make sure my kayak is pointing into the waves. So yeah, it was pretty tough conditions that day. By now it kind of moderated a little bit. It's still not comfortable. Just a small note, when I feel a bite, my standard position is to take my right hand and put it over the rod butt. This gives you more leverage to set the hook, and then it's a smooth transition from the butt of your rod to your reel handle. I just found myself starting to do that pretty naturally. And here's a small male keeper. He was 16 on the dot, and normally I wouldn't keep fish that are that close, but you know, I did release 2 keepers today, and I took home 2, so that is my limit. And there, you see how nicely that fish bled out. If you cut down to the bone, that's what you want to do with tog. And here's just a final fat short to round out the trip. And my friend Zoran is anchored, which I like because he's like a big marker buoy for me. Yeah, they're really cute fish. Okay, thanks for watching. If you like what you see, please subscribe.